what is up, buddies? So I literally have 45 days to plan a conference, and I have got zero sponsorship yet because I just finished a sponsorship package. And last year we did a conference for Design Buddies, and I started planning for it literally like 8 months ahead of time. And this year I'm gonna do 45 days ahead of time and see how it goes because life has been busy, and here I am 45 days in, looking to nail down at least sponsors to at least break even. And last year, we got about $60,000 worth of sponsorships, but we started planning like literally 8 months ago. This year, we have people who I'm really good at getting people who like verbally commit, but they never actually like really send in the check. And yes, so this episode, we're gonna talk about outbound because literally like for in my experience I am so awkward with reaching out to people. Like I'm just like afraid of, I don't know, rejection, or it's not a right fit, or it's like a waste of time. So given that I have 45 days to go, I probably should do some outbound, so at least break even. So Justin, what has your experience been with outbound and sponsorships and sliding into those DMs?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you'll be fine, right? You got 45 days. You're one of those people that execute completely. You'll be okay. But when it comes to outbound stuff, it's partly science, but more art than anything, right? And what I mean by that is there's a science to it in the way of if you send X amount of emails, you'll likely get the amount of dollars that you need, right? It just depends on how much are you willing to send out and effort that you're willing to put in, right? The art side of it comes from, like you said, that you feel that you're awkward in your approach, so to say, right? Um, Awkward works for some people though, and that's the thing that's where that art, I would say, comes into play. Like I have a friend who love him, great guy. I would say he's smooth but in an awkward way in the sales world. Like he runs a creator agency. He has always worked in sales. And like he's the type of guy where he'll literally go up to me and be like, yo, Justin, who's like the most famous person in this room, like when we were at VidCon or at South by or whatever it may be. And I'll be like, yo, that guy has, I don't know, 60 million followers across all platforms or something like that. And he's like, okay, bet. He'll walk up to him and he'll just be like, I don't know what he says, but he will start it off likely in a more than awkward way or like a very direct way. But the way that he's smooth is he's able to connect it almost immediately, that conversation, to something in his life or something in that other person's life or whatever it may be. So awkward can work for the right people, right? That's where that art side comes into it. But so what I did at the beginning of starting Declassified is everything was outbound. We had nothing coming in, even when we had like 100K followers across on our TikTok or whatever, and we grew that in a month. Nobody wanted to reach out to us besides this one company called the Coldest Water, I think. And like at the beginning of TikTok, you probably saw their stuff everywhere. Basically just like a water bottle company. And they wanted to pay us for 7 posts. How much do you think they wanted to pay us for 7 posts, Grace? Plus I think like a 3% commission.
From affiliate sales and stuff?
Yeah.
I actually never. I wish I was on TikTok early in the days, but I feel like it's something I normally when brands reach out to me, it's always low. So I don't know. I'm just gonna assume like $100 for 7 posts.
$100. Let me see if I can find it. I think I still have the
Yeah.
email.
What is the company called?
The Coldest Water.
The Coldest Water.
Yeah. 10 TikToks actually. For 70 USD.
What the fuck?
Total.
Ew.
Total.
Oh my god.
Total. Not even per. Total.
Bro, no.
Plus a commission of 8% per sale. That's ridiculous. That's
like a
this
slap in the
email.
face, man.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
literally. This email was on October 18th, 2020. So yeah, no, that's wild. And the crazier thing is these videos, like the coldest water was, and I remember it back then, and maybe people who were watching, if you were doom scrolling at the very beginning of TikTok, you'll probably remember all of these creators having this water bottle just like randomly in their video. And so people were taking these offers, which is actually insane. Um, but that was the only real inbound that I had from experience wise for probably like the first year and a half of Declassified. But yeah, shout out to the coldest water.
I wonder how they're doing now. But damn, I can't believe people are accepting those low offers, and we shouldn't do that. I feel like as for content creators, we should be always charging more because it helps the whole industry get paid more as well, normalizes that. But damn, for 70, did you like take that on or not take that on?
Oh, no, I said no.
No.
But again,
Yeah.
most people, I would say most people don't know like their value, so to say. So imagine, right, like you're 15, 16, 18, even 25 years old, right? You're not making a ton of money in your job, or if you're not in a job, you're not making any money, and someone's like, "Yo, like I saw that you're making TikToks. We'll pay you $70 for it." Um a lot of people probably say yes because I mean that's or it used to be 70 Big Mac or 70 McChickens. It's not anymore. It's a lot less. But like that's food for the week potentially, right? Or that's something else, right? So people in other circumstances maybe they might take it, but for me at the time, uh I just knew business coming from uh business, like being at university at the time, and everything like that. I'm trying to look it up right now. So they rebranded. It seems like they rebranded to
Mhm.
coldest.com. Um, and here, let me just share my screen or share. So it seems like they just rebranded. Um, as you can see, their water bottles. I mean, their water bottles are pretty expensive, right? Like $43. What's the 8%? 8% commission on $43. Cozy Trails. That's like $3.50 per water bottle, basically. So I mean, they're more expensive than usual, but what I want to see is where's the extension that I'm looking for? Similar web. Bible network. Have you ever used similar web before?
No, what is similar web?
Here, let me just go to the website. So I can similar web.
Oh, analyze each site with their traffic.
Yeah. So let me just share my screen. So this is like a little bit of research stuff. Again, is it super accurate? The world will never know, right? But this is what a lot of people use to coldest.com. I would assume they're doing really well still because I could imagine buying that. Hold on, let me actually. Um, Buying that domain was not cheap, and I just use a free version. I mean, there's a paid version too. It's coldest.com. So they're still getting 1.2 million people monthly right now, and it's from mobile, which I would assume that's probably because of social, right? And so they're still running, so they must be still running social stuff. And whatever it is that's driving traffic to them actually is recent, a lot, or pretty recently too. Let's see. Yeah, so 30% from social, 40% from direct, 13 for paid. But so they seem to be still doing really decent, right? 1.25 million views per month. Um, but anyway, sorry, got a little sidetracked there. Outbound. Um, So what I did at the beginning when we had 100K subs or 100K followers was I tried to do just basic outreach stuff of like finding people's emails, doing some outreach, and I think I probably sent out like 50 to 100 emails and nobody got back, right? This is again very beginning of Declassified. I have no experience um, doing any outreach stuff, but the way that we got our first brand deal was still through cold outreach. But the only thing that I changed in the pitch was instead of just pitching like, hey, I want to do a video with you guys, what I would do or what I did was I created a campaign around like a pain point that connected college to it. So for Declassified, we're a college focused page. And during that time, during COVID, students weren't really being treated very well by their universities. And the one instance that was like a really big headline was that NYU students who are paying like $80,000 a year, they were getting served like ham and cheese sandwiches to their room because they can't go to like the dining hall and stuff like that. And so you imagine you're getting paid you're paying $80,000 and you're getting literal like ham and cheese sandwiches. And what's also crazy too was like vegans who were like vegans or vegetarians were still getting these ham and cheese sandwiches. So it was also like, what type of service is this? Again, for the price that you're paying. And so we combined that sort of headline with like, hey, we want to help students with meals. And so what we did was we were like, hey, we want to do a campaign where we do a competition via TikTok. And every week we're going to give away like a week worth of food via, I think it was like HelloFresh or something like that. And so we hit them up. I think we hit up like 5 or 10 different like food delivery services during that time, and HelloFresh was the one that said yes to us. But that's how we got our first brand deal, and that was I think like $250 or $300 or something like that. And then we ran that competition and hit up just different brands that wanted to sponsor that sort of competition, and I believe we got 8 different brands, either 6 or 8 different brands to say yes to that. And every single time I basically just doubled the price until by the end of it, I think we were at like 2,500 ish, $3,000 per post or something like that. Um, and I was like, oh, this is insane. And that also meant that I was still charging low, right? Because people were just saying yes uh, too easily, essentially during that time. But that was our first ever sort of outbound campaign that we ran at Declassified.
So you identified a pain point and try to pitch to a brand and how their brand can fit into the pain points of your audience, which is students. And so I'm curious. So like you basically like got the HelloFresh. You made like $300 per video, and then the video was like a competition of how many students. And then so HelloFresh would be the one organizing the logistics between like delivering the doors. And would the students like sign up through Declassified, or how does that work?
So we went out and like found students at different schools or whatever, and it was like a trivia competition type of thing. So we had, because it was all through Zoom, right? Because at the
Oh
time,
yeah.
right during COVID, we couldn't really meet up in person. So we had a trivia competition. Whoever got the most answers would get that week's worth of meals essentially.
Hmm.
And we handled all the logistics of ordering on HelloFresh or whatever, again, whichever service it ended up being at the time. But then the service was the one that delivered all the meals and stuff like that.
Ah, I see. And then they paid you like $300 per post, like on TikTok with 100K followers.
Yeah. So it was 300. And then, so again, it was an 8 week, like 6 or 8 week campaign. And so we got our first sponsor to pay us 300. Next one paid us 600. I think the next one was like 800. And then after they kept saying yes, I think I upped it to 1,500, said yes again, and I kept it around like 2 or 2,500 or something like that. Or maybe I hit 3,000, I forget, but that was kind of like the range of that first batch of brand deals, which again, that was my first real taste of like creator internet money. I'd done some like LinkedIn consulting dollars and stuff like that beforehand, but I was like, damn, people are paying me 2 to 3 grand to just make a TikTok. Like this is wild. But that's the world we live in.
Do you do that with the same brand or the new brands every time you double the price?
It was a new brand. It was a different brand, right? So they
Hmm.
didn't know. So we got a sponsor for every week, basically, for this
Hmm.
competition.
Wow, that's so awesome. Like, do you ever pitch too high through your outbound and they said no? And how do you know it's too high?
Nowadays, yeah. So especially like in our space for declassified, we were able to charge a premium um, for working with ed tech companies. Because right, ed tech is typically high margin because a lot of them are like SaaS or internet businesses, and so we were able to charge higher premiums. But then when we wanted to work with like a CPG brand or anything like that, who their margins are very thin, and so they're very cognizant on like conversions and things of that nature. A lot of times brands would just say, "Oh, you're completely out of budget," and to me, that's okay, right? As long as it wasn't a brand that like I really, really wanted to work with. For me, I always try to pitch as high as possible because if we're gonna be taking a quote unquote brand hit, like brand equity hit by promoting this brand, I want to make sure that we're getting at least a good amount of monetary value from it. But if it's like a brand that we really want to work with or keep working with or whatever it may be, then it's like, hey, we'll take a discount. Um, and will take the discount so that we can charge more on the back end once this video performs. And we've done that a few times with some of the brands that we've worked with as well.
What was the largest brand deal you ever done?
I think it was 8 videos for like 65 grand,
Mm.
I think.
Oh, nice.
Um, yeah,
65,000?
so yeah.
Wow,
So
amazing.
this is this is when we get into understanding how to negotiate, but also like this was like peak 2022 creator economy prices, which now prices have kind of leveled off, I would say, except for LinkedIn. LinkedIn seems to kind of
Mhm.
rising up. But TikTok specifically. So the reason we were able to get that high of a dollar amount is because the way that I was pitching declassified audience at the time was you're not getting in front of any old like college student. You're getting in front of a very sort of motivated student, right? Because if they're paying attention to career related stuff, they're likely going to be finding a better job in life in terms of higher paying. And that means they'll have this more disposable income, which means you can build your brand with them and they have more money to spend on you essentially. So that was my pitch
Mm.
there, but also understanding like repost rights. So at that time, I think we were charging like 3 to 40, like 3,500 to 4,500 for a TikTok, again depending on the brand, and then to repost to our Instagram, it was like another like 1.5 to 2.5 grand, and then to repost to our YouTube was like another like 500 to 1,500, I want to say, and then ad rights on top of that too. So if they wanted ad rights or rights to the video, we would add more to that. So because of all those levers that we could pull, that's why that price got as high as it is, or as high as
Mm.
it was. What
Yeah, that's
was like? What has
amazing.
been your biggest brand deal, or like
Hmm.
batch of videos?
Yeah, my biggest brand deal was actually with Wix Studio. They paid me $20,000 for two newsletters and three videos, two or three newsletters and three reels, like a little tutorial about them. And I got so high because I asked them what their budget was, and they said $20,000 per creator. I asked them for examples of campaigns they done with other creators, so they actually
Smart.
sent me how another creator priced each like newsletter and video, and I just priced mine similar. I don't know how big their audience is, but with Design Buddies, how I also pitched them was also similar in a way that they're very ambitious designers who spend their free time engaging in community, looking at content, reading newsletter, attending events. And these are also early career, like college students, new grads who want their first job in design. Um, and I noticed that a lot of these design tool companies, they want to get in front of students because think of it like McDonald's, how they have Happy Meals. Get them hooked when they're young. So that is how I,
Exactly.
yeah, how I pitch them. But this was definitely when Wix and other like Adobe was kind of doing crazy money. I remember the most I got paid for one video was $6,000 for from Adobe, for like a 1 minute long video about me showcasing the Firefly feature. I turned myself into a bunny and just hopped around and showed them how to do it. It's pretty cute. Um, but I feel like it depends. Like I've also worked with brands who offer to pay me more, but I like didn't really it's like taking a hit on your brand equity as you mentioned. Like I never want to lose trust with my audience or become like a sellout because I can talk about a mistake I've made too. Was like I just feel like I only want to promote tools that I like to use and I try myself and believe designers want to use. It's like not worth the many hundreds of thousands worth of dollars if it takes a hit on your audience because once you lose trust, it is very hard to build it back with your audience too, and think of it as like a long-term game. With companies that I want to work with longer, I also give them discounts. Another way I've also pitched this was, for example, I do in-person events a lot. um, In-person events, if I really like that company, I charge about $5,000 for like a 3 hour long event that I put together for them. And I would say, oh, normally it's $10,000, but a special price for you, $5,000. Like my
Yep.
sponsorship deck that I send out is like double the price, but if I like them, normally it's like I really $500. I just do the special. I learned that from these night markets in Thailand where they would come up to me and be like, special price for you. Yeah, so
No,
yeah, I
literally.
started to do the
I
same. Yeah. Hmm.
no, yeah, I mean, so like it's funny. I've heard that you should do the opposite. I've never tried this before, if I'm being completely
Mm.
honest. So I don't do what you do in terms of put pricing on decks. I think we've talked about this actually too, right? I've never, or I try not to put pricing on a deck unless they have like specifically asked me multiple times to put pricing on there. I was watching another creator, uh, like a TikTok randomly popped up on my feed where he was like, "I'm gonna make you more money than you ever will right now when it comes to negotiate." It's like, what a great hook. Let me watch. Let's see what he says. And he basically goes, it's like fake negotiation, right? Like, let's imagine you're the negotiator on, let's just say Wix, and they want to sponsor a How Creators Make Money podcast, right? Episode. So you would say probably like, oh, Justin, what would an episode cost for How Creators Make Money? And then I say 10 grand.
Oh, is it lag?
That's it.
Oh, just 10.
Nope,
Wait,
nope.
sorry. Was
That's
it
it.
just 10 grand?
No, yeah, just like that wasn't lagging. That's just me being quiet. Because it's like you're
Oh,
supposed to just say your number and be quiet for 30 seconds and see if they will say the first word.
the awkward silence. The power
Especially for
move.
video calls too, right? So I was like, oh, interesting. So I haven't been able to try this. I saw it like a couple weeks ago. I think I've like tried to do it in the past, and the reason that he says that it's so powerful is because we'll usually do what you just said. Like I'm definitely a victim of that, where it's like it's gonna be 10 grand, and then they pause for like 5 seconds, and then you're like, like for you, I can do 7,500,
Oh, fuck, I made that
and then you
mistake.
pause, right? And then like you pause again, and then they don't say anything for like 5 seconds, and you're like, for you, 5 grand, 5 grand. And so you've literally just negotiated against yourself half the price, even though the other person hasn't even said anything really. And so like I was like, oh, like I've definitely done that many times before.
Me
Not a lot
too.
recently, but especially at the beginning, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I think I've gotten a little bit better at it, or tried to get a little bit better at it, of like saying something and not trying to be the first person to say something again after. And basically, the advice there is like, make sure that the other person on the other side of the table is the one that you're negotiating with, not just yourself. Essentially, a little bit of that comes with confidence too, though, right? Because I think, especially sometimes in this space, we're like, damn, is it really worth that much money to work with us or whatever it may be? Because like to us, it's just a video, right? And for me, like it takes the same amount of time that it took me in 2020 to make a video that it does now, maybe even less, right, of time. So why can I now charge, I don't know, 5x more, 10x more for that same effort? So it's very different than like work, right? That we've grown up in, where like you get paid depending on how much you work typically, right?
Hmm.
Um, so I think that's just one really big piece of advice that I would have for people. Because I've done it not on like a 30-minute or 30-second or like a 1-minute pause type of thing, but I have noticed if I try to be the second person to say something after I say a price, usually my dollars that come back are better.
All right. Now I'm gonna practice that awkward silence. I feel like, I don't know. I like being awkward because I feel like it helps me know that I'm growing because I'm being uncomfortable. But I'm also curious. You mentioned how you don't put numbers on your slide deck. If they ask you in the call, would you price it? What goes on your mind when coming up with that
See,
number?
so I'd rather do it in person, or either in person
Mm.
or on like a Zoom call or something like that, than on a uh like a sponsorship deck. Um, one of two reasons. One, when you're doing something live, you're able to see their reaction, right? So if they respond right away of saying like yes, then it's like, damn, you probably could have charged higher. If they respond right away and they say no, then that likely means that they really don't have the budget for something like that. But if they're kind of in that in between area, there's probably some room that you can negotiate or figure out a way to make it work, right? Um, if you give them pricing on a deck or over an email, you don't get any of that insight. The only insight that you get is the email back that might take a day, 2 days, 3 days, 5 days to get back, right? And you've got no context of what has happened in between. Have they sent it to someone else? Did they originally have budget for it, or and then all of a sudden that another person saw the deck, didn't like the quality of it, and they're like, ah, no, this isn't actually worth 10 grand. I think it's only worth five. Like you've got no context on any of that. So that's why I try to do it in person, live on Zoom or whatever it may be, because you just get a little bit more context there.
Hmm. Yes, I like that. Okay, I do for my sponsorship debt for a conference. We do have fixed prices, but for the other ones that people like engage with our podcast or with design buddies in general, I will remove the numbers from my decks when I send them out. I like how you mentioned like the deck when we were editing our media kit. We have a slide about like ways you can work with us, and these are just different ways. And then we discuss budgets after that. So I think that was a really good tip, and I'm gonna apply that for design buddies too because I feel like I just leave so much money on the table, man. Like we have like
Yeah.
2 million people following us, and the revenue numbers for the brand deals does not line up, and I am working on bridging that gap.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially with what we're doing with the how creators make money, um, like podcasts stuff that we're trying to figure out ways to generate revenue. And for those who are listening, our journey, right? Your journey as well, because we'll be sharing everything in between. Like we want to turn this into a six-figure podcast money wise by the end of this year, right? So we're actually already 4 months basically into the month, or 3 months into the month, which is kind of wild that it's been this quick already. But actually, why don't we just do this, Grace? We want to just like show the people the deck that
Yeah,
we've been
sure.
working on? Let me see.
Yeah,
Do I
for
have
buddies
it?
engaging on YouTube or Spotify, you have the video option, so you can tune in. and see the screen share.
Do you have it on hand?
I do. I'm opening my Adobe Express deck right now.
Oh, actually, I found
These
it. I found it. I
Adobe.
found it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. All right. Shout out to Adobe Express. We
Yeah,
love
we love
Adobe.
Adobe. We love you.
I think we've both worked with Adobe, right?
Yeah, Adobe's like one of our best sponsors.
Yeah. Um, I love working with Adobe on declassified stuff. Is this supposed to be here?
Yeah.
Anyway.
I don't know what that
Okay.
is. But yeah.
Anyways, so this is sort of like the deck that we're working on. Again, if you're listening on like Apple Podcasts or something that doesn't have video, like make sure to subscribe to our Spotify or our YouTube channel so you can watch this whole sort of breakdown. So Grace has built this amazing deck. I came up with some of the information in here, but obviously Grace is the design superstar, a part of the team. She created the thumbnail here, and then so the first thing that we're doing here is like why is someone even reading this deck, right, when we send it out? And so we want to just prove that point. So that's why we have this quote here that we pulled from a Kajabi creator report. Then we have links to our show so that they know why they want to or what they're sponsoring essentially. And then we're jumping right into testimonials. So shout out to Mimi, shout out to Gabe. If you're listening, if you're watching, these are just some messages that people have sent to us. Essentially, again, totally unprovoked. They sent it to us, which was absolutely amazing since realistically, we haven't really like promoted this podcast anywhere. And so for people to really check out the show, send us feedback like this has been amazing. And then Grace, do you want to like talk through this a little bit?
Yeah. For this one, we want to show a comparison of where we feel the gap between all the other podcasts. So I looked up a bunch of creator economy, creator business podcasts on Spotify, and I screenshotted a bunch of them. I actually listened to most of these actually almost all of these podcasts too before. And we segmented into like creator interviews, diving into creator businesses and commentary podcasts. And for us, for how creators make money, we want to be all of them, to showing that what kind of market gap you mentioned, as you mentioned with the classified, the ambitious students, and how we like stand out within the sea of other creator economy podcasts out there.
Amazing. And then you want to talk about
Yeah.
this copy as well?
Yeah, for this one, we also wanted to position how we're different. There's plenty of media out there that are like podcasts, YouTube videos that are very professional, but we just want to be two buddies just jamming on creator economy stuff together while being like casual, welcoming, but also very informative, and have people like want to hang out with us. Like we're just like our their buddies, like wanting to hang out, learn something. It's like you're having some friends over or jamming around the dinner table about these topics.
Exactly. Exactly. And shout out to JC. Like I think this line right here is what I love. Like these are my people. Like I think that's why I wanted to start this pod, right? So we can build our own community, but like when people listen to this, they're like, "Ah, yes, I love what Grace is saying or I love what Justin is saying." Like this sounds like the people that I want to hang out with. That line right there that JC said, that was super dope to see. Just a little bit of background on us, who we've worked with in the past. They give us like more sort of credibility here. And then this is what you were talking about, right, Grace? Sort of the ways that we can work together.
Yeah, so for this one, I just looked at how other podcasts are segmenting like how they're promoting other brands, like whether it's like the ad in the middle or the end, or mentioning a podcast description or quarterly features, like ways this brand can integrate their presence and our audience. I also like sometimes I also ask ChatGPT to come up with like ideas, but taking what is inspired from there too and asking some friends and asking friends for like examples of media kits is also really helpful. I don't actually know any friends with podcasts with media kits that I know of yet, but hopefully we show you a great example that you can draw inspiration from as well. So this is a podcast. On the next slide, we have social media because not only are we a podcast, we're also on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And these are also ways, additional real estate that brands can pay for like a spot in. Another way to like make more money. So I feel like for podcasts, it's like mostly Spotify, YouTube, but oftentimes it's like easy to, if you do video podcasts, it becomes easier to clip short form like highlights and publish it into like 30, 60-second reels, shorts, TikToks, and then have more real estate and presence to grow our audience more too. And since LinkedIn is hot, we have branded LinkedIn Lives too. And then also, on top of social media, I feel like this topic about how creators make money, there's so much to it. And so we also are building like a creator salary database, like resources, guides, additional ways to collect emails for our newsletter. So emails so we own our audience so we can distribute that further, and also another real estate for the brand to give in. So we didn't put any numbers, but we put ways that brands can engage with us in this. And then later, next step is I sent it to some brands that we connected with at South by, and then we're going to set up some time to chat with them so we can see how their vibes are and how they wish to engage with us.
Yeah, so that was like again just a basic overview of the deck that we've got so far. Let me see. Is there the how do I do this again? Is it this one? Okay. So like this is the view of all the pages, so you can see like kind of like the layout, right? And so if you're looking at why our deck is positioned the way that it is, it's like, okay, build credibility, show our product, build credibility, build credibility, build credibility, build credibility, build credibility, even more credibility, and then we say how we're working with each other. Again, it's a 12-page deck. It's not super, super long, but it is long enough, I would say, to get over the information that we're sharing, as well as prove why, even though this podcast is just launching, the team behind it has got what it needs to really grow the show, essentially. A very similar way of how like a VC deck would be, right? If you're trying to raise money or anything like that, where we're trying to prove that we've got the skills to pay the bills, even though we haven't really even gotten the show off the road so far. But I think this is a really good deck. We'll see how everything goes. If you are watching, like, we'd love to know your thoughts on it, or if you've got like experience in the brand space, or if you're a brand that wants to work with us, make sure to reach out.
Yeah,
Let us know.
emails are on the deck. Yes.
Facts.
This was awesome.
But yeah, that's a little breakdown on what we're going to be sending out to a few brands.
Yeah. So the brands that I'm planning to send out are brands that I've met through events at South by Southwest. They are all from like actual introductions, or brands that have been following me on LinkedIn and knew who I was because of LinkedIn. That was pretty cool.
So can
Yeah.
you talk through a little bit about that process? I know you mentioned before like commenting to be able to get in front of some of the people, but
Mhm.
like what are some sort of like ninja LinkedIn tactics that
Yeah.
you're working on? Because I think you're a
Yeah.
little better at that than I am.
Oh, thank you. LinkedIn is I love LinkedIn. For those of you don't know, I'm so bullish on LinkedIn because people with big money hang out on LinkedIn. They're on Instagram too, but most of them hang out on LinkedIn. These head of marketing, head of partnerships, and a lot of them are investing into LinkedIn. Um, but LinkedIn is great. Like I love posting on LinkedIn in a way to so all of the sponsorship decks that all the people I'm planning to send the sponsorship with are companies looking like marketing based or creator economy companies looking to get in front of creators. Most of them actually know me from LinkedIn, or I was introduced by someone at South by Southwest, either by Jerry or you or AJ or someone else. Just organically meeting in person, but it did help to have like already people knowing me from LinkedIn. Some ways I like to go is I doom scroll on LinkedIn a lot. And when I doom scroll, I get a lot of ideas. I pay attention to the hooks and what kind of posts people are posting on LinkedIn and what does well. And then if I like their posts, I'll just say, hey, I'll connect with them like, hey, I really like your LinkedIn post, especially when you shared about XYZ. Would love to connect as someone else in the creator economy space. Usually that works. I've gotten accepted basically like 100% of the time when I sent a personalized LinkedIn connection request. I also comment on their posts too, because sometimes people like only check the comments. People can miss connection requests too sometimes, or messages. But oftentimes when people are actively posting on LinkedIn, they'll go back and see what people are commenting. And also a way to show the community, everybody who's watching, that you're engaged. Another way that I kind of go about it is I'll just post a lot on LinkedIn myself. I try to post 5 days a week. Today I'm gonna post twice a day too. I'm gonna promote our last episode and do that because I love LinkedIn, and I've been growing a lot on LinkedIn lately. But just putting yourself out there, especially your face and videos and how you talk with people, helps them build rapport with you too. Um, so yeah, I feel like what my goal is, I want to be more outbound. I've never really tried outbound before. It's always been like somebody introducing me to the sponsor, or a sponsor directly reaching out to me on LinkedIn, or filling out our partnerships form on our website, or just reaching out to me via email, LinkedIn, Instagram. But I'm curious to hear like how you go about emailing people. How do you find these emails? How do you structure your emails? Which kind of emails garner the most responses? And if you have any examples to share.
Yeah, so I think you're a lot better at LinkedIn than I am, especially lately, just because I haven't really been on the platform until probably the past like 2 or 3 months. My LinkedIn views are cooked right now. I don't know why, but they are absolutely cooked for some reason, and so I'm trying to figure out like a way to branch that up. But basically, I use two main tools when it comes to my outreach stuff, or I guess three if you count like Google Sheets. But basically, I keep it super lean. I don't have like a CRM or anything like that, and I try to create a list of like 50 to 100 brands that I want to work for. And now with like ChatGPT, that's a lot easier, right? So, for instance, let's just say if I was doing it for how creators make money, which I think we already have this list somewhere, anyway. But what I would do is go to ChatGPT and be like, okay, what are, for our specific space, it was, I think the prompt was like, what are the 50 companies in the creator economy that have raised money in the past like 24 months? Um, and the reason why I'm using like raise money in the past 24 months is because typically when companies raise money, they want to spend it on marketing. So that's like a good indicator. Um, but also creator economy, because obviously the show is kind of geared towards content creators. And so those companies are the ones that want to be getting in front of content creators. So once ChatGPT gives me the list, I go on LinkedIn and I start to scavenge on LinkedIn to see who is who in this space. Now, the biggest issue when it comes to outreach, especially in sort of the creator economy, creator influencer market, whatever you want to call it, is everyone's job title is very different who deals with partnerships, right? Sometimes it's head of partnerships, sometimes it's head of marketing, sometimes it's influencer partnerships manager, sometimes it's just partnerships manager, right? So there's a bunch of different job titles that you have to search through on these different platforms. What I try to do is I'll just go down the list once I import it into like Google Sheets or something, and go one by one and try to find like 1 to 3 different points of contact at each of these companies on LinkedIn. So then from there, we use a tool called connect.clearbit.com. And so that's how I find people's emails. So basically, it's a Gmail plugin. You type in the company URL that you're looking to try to find emails from, and then you start typing in their name. Sometimes they don't have the person's name, especially if they're like a new employee or something like that. But what you can then do is find other employees that work under that URL, and you can start to guess their email, right? So most companies, their email is like first name at whatever company, or it's first dot last name at whatever company, or it's like first initial dot last name at whatever company, vice versa, vice versa. So you just try these different like combinations until your email goes through. And the last tool, which I shared with Grace, I think last week, I was actually really surprised that you'd never heard of about like email trackers or anything like that. But I use streak for my email tracker. Basically, I'm pretty sure it just installs like a pixel on the email so that anytime someone opens it, you get a little notification that someone's opened it. And so that's really good to be able to, at least the way that I use it, um, to see if people have opened it. And if people have opened it, that means my subject line was strong enough to like stand out in their inbox, because people, especially influencer partnership people, like they're getting tens, if not hundreds, of emails every single day. So you need to find a way to stand out in all that noise. And then the second part that I use the email tracker for is to see how many views that email got. So if it starts racking up a lot of views, like 3, 4, 5, 10, 15, 50 views on an email, then I start to know that like that email's probably getting sent around within the company, and it's a good time to follow up because they're likely excited about the idea, or they're trying to pitch it to other people. So I'll follow up and ask them something that's like, hey, just want to follow up, see if there's anything else that I can like provide, or if there was anything else that I could provide to see how we could work with each other or something like that.
Yeah, I downloaded it now, so I'm gonna see. It's because I've never really done outbound, so I never looked into tools that would help me with that. I actually have something I did 10 years ago. Um, I remember this now. Okay, so I was a high school student. This is actually the only time I did outbound, but I would have found Streak so useful for this. I would just kind of get free products to promote on like my food and running Instagram. So I was gonna try to get free running clothes and free like healthy food products. It actually worked. Like I was like the 16-year-old kid emailing brands of like the template I found online. I just got a bunch of free products like shipped to my house. Like every time I used my PO box. I didn't want to give away my address, so my mom and I would go to the PO box and get a whole like how like Toyota RAV4 size box every month. Because I just like start spamming these emails because I was just like a kid. I'm just like wee. Um,
Hey, I've done the same. I've done the same.
but the companies are really easy to give free product because it doesn't cost that much. But with actual sponsorship money, it's more. So I'm also curious to hear like how did you structure your emails? I can maybe pull up mine too, but it was only free products that I sent in like 2014.
I mean, I would. The only reason I don't want to, let me see if there's one that I can pull up that like.
Or just like a general
Actually,
opening,
I
like an
can do I
example.
can do an example for yours, or for how creators make money.
Yeah.
Um, Actually, I should probably follow up on this. Um, Now that I see how many times it got viewed. So this is an example um of a company that we reached out to. I don't believe I can make sure that we don't show the brand that we reached out to. But anyways, um my first message to them, for those who are listening, was, hey Christina, South by Southwest is only 2 weeks away, and we're creating the most creator focused short form content series yet. 100 creators, 100 money making secrets, one epic series. And then I've got like bullet points. Proven format. Our test videos have already hit 10 million plus views. This series will be even bigger. Hyper targeted audience. Reach content creators who are serious about monetization. That means creators with more money to spend on products like yours. Full branding takeover. So your brand will be everywhere. Our socials will be powered by blank. Visual branding across all 100 videos and weekly mentions in our brand new podcast, How Creators Make Money, for 3 months. Why South by Southwest? Grace and I will be journeying through the streets and conferences of South by Southwest Creator Economy Track, talking with creators about everything money. Timeline: we plan to record all 100 videos in the series during South by Southwest and release them one day at a time until June, just in time for VidCon. If you're ready to be the brand bringing the money conversation to creators around the world, let's find some time to talk before South by Southwest. So that was my initial opening email. Again, for those who are listening, I know that was a lot. And then the subject line of it was, own the conversation around how creators make money. So this email has 11 total views, which means a lot of people saw it. A lot of people read it. And then because of that, I followed up. I believe so 3 people saw it before I sent the follow up. And the follow up, I just say, "Hi, Christina. Grace's post on LinkedIn just got 69 million views. This is the same concept that we want to bring with the launch of this 100 creator, 100 video series. Imagine 100 videos with this, like this, with creators who already have platforms. Let's break the internet with blank, Justin." Again, the email got a ton of views. I can probably follow up again. I think the big issue with this sort of campaign that we try to do with this outreach, Grace, was just too short on time, right? Like our first email was February 25th. South by Southwest was when?
March
March,
6th, I think.
yeah, March 6th, March 7th. So it was like super quick turnaround, right? And so I know we were super optimistic anyways of trying to pull something off like this. But from these email chains, we did get, I think, like one or two hits in terms of people reaching out, which I think is really, or reaching back out, which is really good. I think I can follow back up with these people, um, just talking about like how South by went, what we're planning to move forward, and kind of like our content series. But yeah, that was sort of like the outreach in terms of what I've done recently with how creators make money.
Hmm. Nice, nice. I like how you gave like a bullet point so it's easy to read and like a hook. Like, oh, it's 2 weeks away. Act fast. And then examples of how similar posts have performed. Yes, that post did go viral, and a lot of my money videos went viral. I'm trying to get another like 60. It has 75 million views now, but I'm trying to get
That's
another
crazy.
hit. I really hope that wasn't a one hit wonder, but I had a couple of videos that had over 5 million since. So hopefully it's the golden age of
I mean,
LinkedIn.
five million is still crazy though, right? Because
Yeah.
you have what, like 50K ish across
Yeah.
on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
So again, LinkedIn's a gold rush right now. If you haven't gotten on it, like definitely check it out.
Do it
Grace is
today, right
killing it.
now. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
do it
gonna
right now.
right now, right
Grace
now,
is
right now.
killing it. I am not, but I'm trying to kill it.
You got this, you got this.
My views, I don't know. Like they were decent at like the beginning of the year, and then now it's like terrible. I don't know what
LinkedIn's
happened.
weird. Like I've noticed adding links doesn't make a difference. I've had posts that went viral with 5 million views that have 5 links in there. So I don't think it matters. I think it's like a myth.
Yeah.
But I have noticed that sometimes my posts don't do. It's such a gamble. Like I don't get it. Sometimes like my posts like a really, or just like or like a post would get like 10,000 views, 20,000 views, 30,000 views.
Mm.
It's like it's not. It's like such a gap between that and like 75 million. But all my videos get about 1 million views, anyways. So I think there's something going on with videos. So
Yeah.
it's golden because there's not that many people making videos. And I also know the LinkedIn team. I know they push my videos to the explore tab. That's
No,
why
I mean,
too.
I also know like again videos, because not that many people are making it. It's popping off, especially if you can get it onto like their version of For You page.
Hmm.
Like I'm scrolling through my posts right now, and it's bad. I did, mine did pop off, that one that I said that I don't want to be Mr. Beast, I want to be you.
Ah. Hmm.
That got like 40K views,
Oh,
which is like my
nice.
best post in a while. And then I had another one that got like 12K views or something like that right after it, which I was like, oh, I'm back in the game. And then now everything is like I can barely crack like 2K views. So, but we will figure it out. We will
We'll
figure
figure
it
it
out.
out. Like we will, we will. Look, come subscribe, like and subscribe. We'll document the highs and lows of this journey with y'all. I've also noticed with my friends. Like I have friends who took hiatuses from posting for like 6 months, 12 months. They notice the same thing. So it happens to like
Yeah.
everybody too when they stop posting regularly. That's why I try to post like every day, every
Yeah,
weekday.
that I'm trying to get back to the everyday thing right now. For you, what are your sort of thoughts on outbound, or like what are your plans for outbound, I guess, for at least design buddies? Do you have a
Yes,
tactic in mind
I
for right
do.
now?
I do. I am reaching out to some of my super connector friends and asking them like, "Hey, you're super connected," or basically like, "Hey, So I basically talk to a lot of people on a regular basis, but for my super connector friends, they know like pretty well, and I feel like pretty good friends. I asked them if they know anybody looking for sponsors. Uh, look, no, want to put me down to sponsor us.
I love it. I love it.
So I just like I don't know. I also like posted. I'm in a couple of WhatsApp chats with like SF event organizers, SF founders. I feel like founders are often super connectors. And I just like, hey, we're hosting a conference. Anybody know any sponsors that would like to sponsor us? This is how last year's event went. Last year's event we sold out and like had 3,000 people tuning in live. So I feel like because I feel like I can only do this conference 45 days in advance because I done it last year. Because I don't recommend, if you're putting out a conference, I do not recommend doing it 45 days in advance. But I'm only doing it because I've done it before. And I wrote a whole like case study article about it on my LinkedIn. So I just like linked that as like, this is how last year's went. So basically, let me just like pull up the message I've sent people too. Let's just find it.
Yeah, how
Actually,
are you
maybe
doing
not
right
right
now?
now because I haven't got any hits. I just posted it like last night on Sunday night. So, um, but I did have some people reaching out to me, with like, oh yeah, my startup is interested in sponsoring. So maybe. So for that one, I am really just posting in groups, reaching out to friends that they know someone. I'm also re-engaging with our past sponsors for our last conference and past sponsor who have sponsored Design Buddies, but usually they need like a longer lead time. But I believe in myself that I can make this work. So I will do.
No,
I already
I
got a
think you
free
got it.
venue. I got a free venue and free catering too. So honestly, the costs aren't that high. So it's like less stakes are made. We just like spent about I think $10,000 total on the retreat, and the merch. But other than that, and it should be fine because last year's event costed us $40,000. This year's event probably cost us $10,000, given like the retreat, pre-event retreat, and the merch. So I'm like, that's why I'm like less stressed. Normally I would be more on top of it, but because my life has been busy and the costs aren't that high, I was able to do that. Also, like if you live in a big city, just going to a bunch of random events helps too. Not random events, it's like a networking hack, but I go to a lot of events in San Francisco. I'm sure there's a lot of events in like Austin, New York, LA too. And I just like meet friends. The more friends I meet, I also like add them to a. So when I first moved to SF from the faraway lands of Cupertino, I wanted to make friends. Like I wanted more friends, so I made this group chat called the Bunny Club VIP to like raise them up on Instagram. And that group chat, I would just like add everybody that I like and I meet and would like to hang out more with them. So it's like this group chat has like 150 people, which might be too much, but we regularly share events in there. And I also try to host events on my own and invite people because having it's like a networking hack, but like not or a friendship relationship building hack is like just having events or like sharing events with people who might be super connectors helps them remember you more. So I try to be very proactive in nurturing these like relationships I have. But by putting people into a group chat and sharing events is a great way. By having just like a couple of friends, like 5 friends that I share events with, is good. So it's like I invest a lot in my network. So I also help them out a lot too, and helping them with other recommendations, other things too. So like when my time comes, I need help, they'll be happy to help. So yeah, that's how I will pull it
Okay.
off.
So let's what I know we've got like a little bit of time left, but if you were to summarize your best kept secret when it comes to managing relationships, right? Because I think that's the hardest thing for a lot of people is maybe they meet someone at an event, right? Or maybe they meet a lot of people at an event, but they do a really bad job of like just keeping in touch with them. I know I'm definitely bad at this too, where it's like, oh, I know that this person is a great connect, and then I'll reach out to them whenever, or the only time that I'll reach out to them is when I have an ask, rather than like nurturing that relationship so that when there is that ask, I'm able to ask for it without like feeling bad, if that makes sense, because I've given them so much value. Do you have any like systems or like ways that you sort of are trying to nurture these relationships?
Yeah, I try to show up. I feel this is more SF specific, but I try to show up to their events a lot in SF and just like say hi. whenever I can. I also I need to do this. I don't do this yet, but I'm going to do this. Is I want to set up like quarterly calls with them to see how's it going, or I need to reach out back to so many people, but setting up calls quarterly to see how's it going, how we can help out, what is top of mind for them, what they building. Um, yeah, and for the conference specifically for outbound, um, I am going to. Well, I need to do this. I think I'll just try reaching out to people on LinkedIn and see what happens. But with the network of design buddies, I haven't like promoted the conference widely yet. I'm just gonna like ping everyone, um, and put in our newsletter saying we have a conference open to sponsorships. See what happens. I don't know. I I need to get better, but I think right now I'm just relying on my current connections first, just because the time is close and it's a bit challenging to get. Because the sponsorship packages are like 5K, 12K, and 25K. It might be a little bit challenging to get that amount of money from, especially, like I said, startups work pretty fast. Um, so we'll see. I'm just gonna throw all my darts out there, see what happens, and I will recap on this podcast on how that goes, how that strategy goes. But in summary, to like nurture relationships, it's like if I meet someone, I follow up with them right away. It's like I get their email or phone number, depending on the vibes. I try to get phone number if I can, but email is also good too, just depending on the vibrations they give off, you know? Um, and I try to be like, great meeting you at this event. Let's jam on XYZ. So when I say jam, I just want to like learn about their experiences more and learn about what they're working on, what's working, what's not, and how I can help out, and just like a knowledge sharing session. So it's like not clear that's like I'm using them for something, but I just like it's like a discovery call because I want to make sure that I am also like learning. I want to learn from them and they can also learn from me. It's like a mutual relationship that we have going on. And I also have like on my notes app, I have this like South by Southwest follow ups, and I like write down everybody's like name, where they contacted me, and what we're jamming about, and I just like follow up with them like when I settle down from a conference. So I just been doing that, having calls like all last week. So I try to send them a message right away, email or phone, and keep a note stock of like important people. Sometimes, you know, you're like running around so many events. I just take a screenshot of their LinkedIn or their email, and then like populate my notes app at the end of the day or end of the week or so I remember what is going on, by following up right away with their top of mind by like email or phone. So yeah, that's how I've been trying to get a hold of everyone.
I love it. I love
um
it. All right. I think that was a good pod. How did you feel?
yeah, that was great. That was like great, like busting with no cap, man. W's in the chat, W maxing. I'm sorry, I'm like, I don't know why I just say skibbity. Like, I don't know. Like, I just start talking like a Gen Alpha sometimes. It's just like
Great.
really funny.
Your intros and outros are top tier. I love it. I love it.
Thank
No,
you. I
you're
spent too
you're
much
the
brain rot.
personality of the pod. So
Thank you.
how are you brain rotting on LinkedIn though? If you're doom scrolling on LinkedIn, no
I am
one's saying
doom scrolling.
skibbity on
I
LinkedIn.
am.
Besides you. Yeah,
I
you're right.
think
You're right.
TikTok and Instagram, and I started saying these words ironically because I don't know. One time I was talking to some friends of a friend that were teachers at a middle school, and I was just like asking them what are the kids doing these days, and they told me all about Skippity Toilet and Phantom Tax. So I went down this whole rabbit hole like Gen Alpha slang. And I was like, these words sound so funny. I feel like I've heard them on YouTube or YouTube Shorts or like Reels. And I just started using them more on people, like in real life. I end my Zoom meetings with W's in the chat. And I don't know, it just like have connects to younger generations, and I think it's hilarious. And it just makes
I
people
also
laugh.
think older generation laughs at it, right? Which
Yeah.
I think adds to the vibes of the conversation
Mm-hmm.
whenever you're having it with one. I love it. I think it's hilarious. Whenever you start throwing in all the terms
Yeah, it
randomly.
comes in naturally. Like every time I end something or just like say bye, it was like great chatting with you, W, in the chat. Like even like I had to hold myself back during more like formal business meetings, but sometimes if the vibe is right, I'll just like W's in the chat. So they remember
It's a
me.
good
It's like
vibe
something.
check. Yeah. It's a good
Yeah.
vibe check. I get it.
Yeah.
Well,
I,
all
I
right.
only want to I only want to work with people who also are good vibes. So it's a good thing. Yeah.
I love it.
Mm.
I'm going on vacation this week, so this will be the pod, and then when I come back, I'll be super refreshed and can't wait to see what we'll be jamming on in next week. So,
Yeah, let's do it. Can't wait.
all right.
Next week, we'll be probably drumming on creator managers because I get
Ooh.
so many. I need to do more outbound and I have so many inbound requests, and a lot of my time is spent meetings and negotiating, and I miss creating. So I'm talking with a couple of creator managers, and I will keep you updated on how that goes. I'm just outsourcing some of my stuff. Even though, like, what's hesitating me is like, I love building these relationships. It's fun, but at the same time, I feel like it's like taking away from my creative time. So I'll keep you guys updated on how those call goes and what I learned about working with the creative manager as I start on my work trial. So stay tuned, like and subscribe, and W's in the chat.
W's in the chat.
W.